starts with these prayers. Oh, so please, yeah, just keep yourselves muted and you can chant along with me. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Site Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pustaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatale Shatarane Jai. So let us begin. I think in the interest of time, we'll just we'll recite the Sanskrit for the first verse, and then after that, we'll read the translations. We're not going to have time to read all the purports, so I'm hoping that you all will have time to read the purports before classes, because it's really important that you read Srila Prabhupada's purports, but the pace of the class is not going to allow that in class, so you're going to have to do it out of class and preferably before the class, because as you're reading, then you can thoughts will come up, questions will come up, and you can note those down, and then you can ask me during the class. So yeah, like I told Krishna Priya, I really like thoughtful questions. So, try to ask deep questions that are real for you, right? Not just the question bank questions or something. Questions that you can't find the answers to yourself, okay? That's what I'm here for. Because things that you can answer yourself just by looking in the purport, you can do yourself. You don't need me for that, right? So you can just, use me for what you can't do yourself. And those deeper, more complex questions. Okay, so chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text 1. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre Kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kim akurvata sanjaya. Someone go ahead and please read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji, should I?
Yes, please.
Translation. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
Okay, so I think most of you know the context, right? For the Battle of Kurukshetra, fratricidal war between the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas, and the sons of Dhritarashtra, headed by Duryodhana. And of course, Pandu and Dhritarashtra were brothers, so these boys were cousins or cousin brothers, as you may say. And because Pandu died untimely, he left this world at a relatively young age when his children were small. So the boys were all raised together in the same household in the royal palace of the heads of the Kuru dynasty. So Pandu was supposed to be the king, but because he left this world, he wasn't obviously couldn't be the king. Dhritarashtra, although he was the eldest son, he was blind, so he couldn't really be the king. And so now there was this dilemma over who would be the king of the world, basically, which the capital of the whole world was there in Hastinapur. And so Duryodhana felt that he said he was thinking I should be the king because my father is the oldest. He couldn't be the king because he's blind, but I'm not blind, so I should be able to be the king. And then Pandavas are thinking, well, our father was the king, and he left his body, so his heir would be one of us, his sons, his eldest son being Yudhisthira. But Duryodhana was not having that, and Dhritarashtra was also supporting Duryodhana, as we shall see. And so this battle ensued. And the Pandavas, they wanted to make peace. They tried many ways to come to a peaceful settlement. They tried to reason with the Kauravas. They sent Krishna there, as a messenger of peace. Even Krishna showed some partial feature of his universal form. And even then, Duryodhana was just like, you may be God, whatever. I don't care. I'm still going to be the king. That's just how stubborn he was. And then the Pandavas, they also said, you know what? You can have the whole rest of the world. Just give us each a village. There are 5 of us brothers. Just give us 5 small villages because after all, we're Kshatriyas. We need to rule. Give us some village to govern over. We'll be satisfied. And then Duryodhana said, forget it. I'm not going to give you a piece of earth that a pin could be stuck into, the size of a pin tip. I'm giving you nothing, not even that. I'm taking it all. So then there was no other way. They tried every method of diplomacy, and it wasn't working with Duryodhana. So there had to be a battle. So now we're at the beginning of the battle. They're assembled there. And so Dhritarashtra, he's blind, so he can't see what's going on. He's not there at Kurukshetra. He's there in his palace. And he has this minister named Sanjay. So Sanjay is actually a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva, who is he's the father of Dhritarashtra, right? He's the grandfather of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, so he's very closely related here. And he's also the spiritual master of Sanjay. Sanjay is his disciple. So because Sanjay was a nice student, Vyasadeva was pleased and he gave them a benediction that he is able to see things from a distance. Like he can be miles away and he can just sit there in the room and see exactly what's going on. That was one mystic power that Vyasadeva bestowed upon his disciple Sanjay. And Dhritarashtra knew this, so he thought, okay, this is great. I don't need to go. I couldn't see anyway. So I'll just sit here with Sanjay, and Sanjay's going to give me a play-by-play report of what's going on there on the battlefield. So now Dhritarashtra starts. Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled at Kurukshetra, what did they do? So Dhritarashtra is naturally very curious because his sons are out there, and here we can see a little bit about Dhritarashtra's mentality, his miserliness, basically, because Dhritarashtra is saying my sons, he's saying Mamaka, and then he says Pandavas Chaiva. So there's my sons and then Pandu's sons. So really, Dhritarashtra should have treated them all equally, since they all grew up together, since basically Dhritarashtra was taking care of them. Of course, also Bhishma Dev was there as the grandfather helping take care of them. So he should have considered that these are all my sons. These are all the sons of the royal dynasty, and I care about all of them, and I love all of them, and I have affection for all of them. But instead, he's showing affection only for his sons. He's considering these are mine and those are somebody else's. And somebody might argue that, well, it's natural for a father to have affection for his biological sons more than his brother's sons. And that's true, but the real problem here is that Dhritarashtra's sons are all evil. They're just bad. Like when Duryodhana was born, it said that the jackals were screaming and the donkeys were braying, and there are all these evil omens. And the sages approached Dhritarashtra and they said, "This son of yours is going to be only trouble. He's going to destroy your whole dynasty. You need to get rid of him." They're literally like, "We'll just kill this child before he destroys the dynasty." But of course, which parents are going to do that? So yeah, Dhritarashtra from the beginning was very, very attached to his son, and he was unable to even really seriously acknowledge all of his misdeeds, all the ways that he was just nasty, and he tried to kill the Pandavas in so many ways. They tried to poison them, to burn their house down. They cheated them out of their kingdom in a loaded dice game. And even though the Pandavas were totally innocent and very pious and righteous, but Dhritarashtra just turned the other cheek. He just condoned all of these nefarious activities due to his affection, his bodily attachment to his sons, basically. And this is going to end up being the cause of the annihilation of his dynasty. So we have a lesson to learn here, and that is that when we are very attached to people, the more attached to people we are, the more affection we have for those people, the more influence they have on us. So like, if your best friend wants you to do something, it can be very difficult to say no, even if you know it's wrong. So Dhritarashtra wasn't a bad person, but he just had his affection in the wrong place. And so when we put our love and trust in people with low moral standards, then that can cause us to compromise our own principles and get us into trouble. So we need to choose our association very wisely, right? Because there's a saying that just tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are, right? That's the power of association. And that's why, Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Instruction, you'll get to that as you go on through Bhakti Shastri. He's very adamant about association, that he talks about 6 principles that are favorable for devotional service and 6 principles that are unfavorable. And he mentions association in both of them. He says that association with non-devotees is going to destroy your devotional service. And he says that in order to grow your devotional service, you need to abandon the association of non-devotees. And instead, you need to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, right? So, yeah. So this is characteristic of a Vaishnava, that Lord Chaitanya said that the characteristic is that a Vaishnava gives up the association of non-devotees and tries to associate with nice devotees, right? Advanced, those who are more advanced, because that way we can have good guidance and make right choices and put our love and trust in people who are going to lift us up rather than drag us down. Okay. All right. So, oh, by the way, if you have any questions or anything, just go ahead and raise your digital hand, because I'm fine with taking I'm fine with taking questions throughout. Like I'd rather just take questions as they come up than wait at the end. Okay. So just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you and we can keep it interactive that way. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to talk. So please go ahead and don't be shy about raising your hands. Okay, so let's go to 2 and 3. We'll do 2 and 3. Someone just please read the translations of text 2 and 3. Someone, anyone?
Mataji, should I?
Mm-hmm.
Translation. Sanjay said, "O Thind, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, then Duryodhan went to his teacher and spoke the following words."
Text 3 also, please. Go ahead, same person can just read text 3 also.
Mataji, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Translation. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada.
Okay, thank you. So here we're starting to see the first thing that Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra is about what Duryodhana is doing, because of course that's the person that Dhritarashtra is most interested in, is his darling eldest son. And what we're seeing here, what Duryodhana is doing, is he's being manipulative. That's Duryodhana's nature. He's a manipulator. So he's going up to his teacher, Dronacharya, and he's basically trying to make him angry. He wants Dronacharya to become so angry that he's going to kill Arjuna, even though Arjuna is his pet student. So yeah, so Dronacharya was the martial teacher of all of the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And teacher always becomes affectionate to the student who is learning the best, right? Who's very submissive, very what's the word? Like kind of helpful, subservient, right? Who is serious and diligent in their studies, who's disciplined, who's really trying to please the teacher. And Arjuna was that person. Arjuna was very respectful, very humble, very helpful. He learned well. He was the best student. And so Drona loved Arjuna like his own son. And yet here Drona is on the side of Duryodhana, and he's in a position where he needs to kill Arjuna. So just imagine, this is like very, very difficult for Dronacharya and also for Arjuna, as we're going to see. So neither of them wants to kill the other one, but this is what war is like, right? This is the nature of war, especially this kind of war, fratricidal war. So Duryodhana knows that Dronacharya has this soft spot for Arjuna, and he's thinking, oh no, if Drona doesn't fight to his full ability, then this is not going to be good for me, for my side. So I have to make him really angry, because when people get angry, then they lose their intelligence and they forget about everything and they'll just kill. So that's what he's trying to do here, is invoke this anger, destructive anger. And how he's doing it is he's reminding him of how his enemy, Drupad, sent his son to be trained by him for the purpose of killing him. So what happened is these Drona and Drupad, this is from Mahabharata. So they were friends as children. They went to school together. They were best friends. And Drona was a Brahmin and Drupad was a Kshatriya. So Drupad is expecting that one day I'll be the king. I'll have a huge kingdom. I'll have a lot of money. And this Drona is so dear to me. He's a Brahmin, so he won't have a lot of, material assets. But I love him so much that I'm going to give him half of my kingdom. And he told Drona that. He said, I promise you, when I become the king, I'll give you half of my kingdom. So then Drona, so they grew up, and Drupad got his kingdom, and Drona was a teacher, and he was in some financial need. He had his son, and he didn't have he was just living off donations. Anyway, so he went to Drupad and he said, oh, remember that promise you made that you would give me half your kingdom? Well, I could really use it right now. And then Drupad said, what? Who are you? Get out of here. Who do you think you are, trying to steal my, kingdom and royal assets? Just go away. I don't want to see your face. So Dronacharya was obviously very offended, and he went away. And then, let's see. Oh yeah. So then he got a job with the Kauravas, with the royal family, and he ended up becoming the teacher, their martial teacher. So he was teaching all these young boys how to fight with weapons and everything. And then when they were done at their graduation, the custom is that they should give some dakshin. So then Arjuna the Pandavas went to Dronacharya and they said, Dear Gurudev, thank you very much. You've taught us so much. We're so grateful to you. We want to offer you some dakshin. Please ask us for whatever you want. And then Dronacharya said, yes, I have a request. please bring me King Drupad. Please go there, fight with him, tie him up, and bring him here to my feet." Like that. So they did. They went there, they fought with his army. The five of them defeated his whole army, and they went in there and they bound him up just like an animal by ropes, and they dragged him to the lotus feet of their revered teacher. And then Drona said, you know, this is what happens to people that go back on their promises. Basically, he just chastised him. He just wanted to humiliate him, and then he sent him back. But of course, Drupad is a Kshatriya, so Kshatriyas don't take humiliation well. So then he got angry and he thought, well, okay, my army is not strong enough to defeat these Pandavas. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a yajna. So he got some priests, Brahmin priests, and they did this big yajna. And the whole purpose of the yajna was to produce a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Okay, so then they did the yajna. There was this huge sacrificial fire, and then out of the fire came this amazing, effulgent warrior, and that warrior was Dristadumna. And then after him, there was a little bonus that came after that, is a girl, this beautiful young woman came out of the fire, and she was Draupadi. So Draupadi is the daughter of Drupad. So now, so Drupad has this son now, and he needs to be trained how to fight because he needs to go into battle and he needs to kill Dronacharya. So then who does he send him to for military training? The best teacher in the land, Dronacharya himself. So then Dronacharya, because he's a Brahmin, he knows all this. He's aware of this whole situation. This boy was born to kill him. But still, this is the nature of Brahmins, is that they're very liberal. And if someone approaches them to be taught, then they feel they're duty bound to teach. And because Brahmins, the quality of Brahmins is that they're governed by the mode of goodness. So they're equipoised, they're detached, they're dutiful. And so he accepted it as his duty to accept this student. So that now Dronacharya is saying to Drona, he's saying to Drona, he's saying, look there on the other side, look on the other side of the battlefield. There is your intelligent disciple, your mortal enemy's son, and he's standing there just to kill you. And you trained him. You literally trained him, and now he's going to use the education that you gave him to kill you. What a fool you are, basically. That's kind of what he's implying here is you're so stupid that you yeah, this is Duryodhana. So he doesn't care about, etiquette. He's basically like calling out his, own teacher to try to make him angry so that he'll fight. So this is manipulation, right? It's he's trying to manipulate Dronacharya's emotions to make him do what he wants him to do. And this is typical of people who are basically abusive, or just nasty, demoniac people, is that they're very good at finding out what your weaknesses are, what your what do you call it, your buttons, your soft spots, and they'll poke you, they'll push your buttons in exactly the way to bring out emotions, and then they'll use those emotions to blackmail you, emotionally manipulate you to get you to do what they want you to do for their selfish interests. So yeah, we have to be careful about these kinds of people and be aware of this human tendency, or tendency of conditioned souls in this world, basically, especially in Kali Yuga. And we should also be careful not to do this to other people, because this is not something pleasing to Krishna, right? We should try to be simple and straightforward and keep our minds and actions pure, because that's favorable for our spiritual lives. Okay, so let's one person please read the translations for 4, 5, and 6.
Hare Krishna. Can I read?
Yes.
Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yodhana, Virata, and Draupad. Text 5. There are also great, heroic, powerful fighters like Dhritarashtra, Chekitana, Kisraja, Projit, Kunti Bhoja, and Sepai.
One more.
Should I?
Go ahead.
Namaste translation. They are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamoja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters.
Okay, thank you. So here, Sanjay is listing the names of the most prominent warriors in the Pandavas' army. So these are all great personalities, very powerful. If you see this, the thing is that Bhagavad Gita comes in the middle of the Mahabharata. So if you had read the Mahabharata from beginning up till now, then you know who all these people are. When you hear the names, you're like, oh yeah, that person. Oh, they did this. Oh, they're very powerful. Oh, right? You'll know who these people are. But because we're just reading Bhagavad Gita here by itself, then to us it's just a list of difficult to pronounce Sanskrit names, right? But anyways, we can just know that these are all very powerful and pious personalities who are, leaders, Kshatriyas, military leaders in their own right, and they've allied themselves with the Pandavas, and they're fighting for the good side, right? The Pandavas' army. So these lists, in one sense, you might think, well, they're not very meaningful, but on the other hand, we can see that, that life in this world is sometimes like a battle. And in the battle, when you're fighting a battle, you need allies, right? You need supporters. So in this battle of life, we also need to take stock of who are our supporters. Each one of us should be able to make a list of names like this, of people who that we can trust, that we can count on to stand up for us and come to our aid in times of difficulty. And especially in spiritual life, we really need association and support. So yeah, like I was saying, association is so, so important. So we should all have like a list of as many names as are here, at least that many people we should have on our side in our spiritual life as we fight the battle against Maya. So, and if we don't have that many names, then we should try to really invest more energy in cultivating nice, deep relationships with devotees, with peers, with mentors, with gurus, diksha gurus, shiksha gurus, because it's difficult. It's a long, hard battle, and we need all the help we can get. Okay. So now, Sanjay's listing the Pandavas' army, and now Duryodhana is going to name the warriors in his own army. Okay, so we can have one person read text 7 to 11. You're reading 5. Go ahead.
Should I?
Saga. I got Saga. He's got his hand up.
But for your information of rest of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force.
Just keep going. Just read all of those till text 11.
Okay.
Sagar.
There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karana, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Samadhata, called Bodhisrava, who are always victorious in battle, who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in military sciences.
Someone else want to read then? Text 10 and 11?
Can I?
Can I?
Ishvar.
Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Yes, the strength of the Pandavas carefully protected by the Bhima limitation. All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of the entrance into the flanks of the army.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yeah, Duryodhana, he's listing these prominent warriors on his army, and Duryodhana did have a lot to be proud of, because the Kaurava army, because the Kauravas were in power, right? The Pandavas had been in exile for like 14 years before this, and they had made some good contacts while they were in exile, but they didn't have the power that the Kauravas had. So the Kaurava army was much larger, and they really had some of the best warriors. Like Bhishma Dev, there was literally no one who could kill Bhishma Dev, because Bhishma Dev had gotten a benediction that he wouldn't die unless he wanted to. So that's why he ends up like on that bed of arrows at the end. And he's, anybody would have died under that condition, but because he wasn't ready to go, then he stayed there alive, and he was fine in that situation. And also Karna was Kunti's firstborn son. So he was actually a Pandava brother. There were actually 6 Pandavas, but Karna didn't know he wasn't, in one sense, he wasn't a Pandava because he was born before she got married to Pandu, but still he was one of their brothers, son of Kunti. And yeah, but he didn't know it. So, but Karna was very, very powerful because he was the son of the sun god. And so Bhishma and Karna were both capable of defeating the Pandavas single-handedly, basically. But the thing here is that, as the saying goes, might does not make right. Right? Have you ever heard that? Just because you're stronger or smarter or louder or faster or have more money or, stronger weapons than someone else, it doesn't mean that you're right. It doesn't make you right, and it doesn't necessarily make you the winner, right? Because even if the odds are against you, it's the good guy that's going to win in the end, right? So, and that's because Krishna supports those who do good. Krishna says that, he says, I am the morality of the victorious, which means that victory comes from morality. It doesn't come from physical strength, financial strength, intellectual strength, whatever. Victory comes from morality. So when we act in ways that please Krishna, and when we follow the laws of God, follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, that's where our strength comes from, and that will be our cause of victory. So this is important to remember, because in this world, most people are very materialistic and they're not very moral, right? People are willing to lie, they're willing to cheat, they're willing to, put other people down or whatever it takes to get money, to get power, and to keep it. And when those values become very prominent, then when we take to spiritual life and we try to, walk the high road, do the right thing, according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then we may feel like, we may feel alone. Like everybody around me is drinking, but I'm not. Everybody around me is having illicit sex. I'm not. Everyone around me is, smoking or eating meat or whatever, and I'm not doing those things. So we're really, in one sense, swimming upstream, where we're taking the, there's one American philosopher that said, taking the road less traveled. right? He said that he was walking and then the path diverged in the woods, and he said, and I took the road less traveled, and that has made all the difference in my life. So as devotees, we're really taking the road less traveled, and that's the difference. That's going to, be the cause of our victory. But sometimes, in our weaker moments, when Maya starts influencing us, maybe we're not chanting well, maybe we've been in bad association and we become spiritually weak. We might start to think that, well, millions of people can't be wrong. If millions of people are believing that sense gratification is the way to happiness, that there's nothing wrong with smoking and drinking and illicit sex and gambling and all these things, then, why don't I just go with the flow? Right? That question can come up in our minds. But the fact that everyone's doing it doesn't make it right. So we don't want to just be in the majority or in the mainstream. We want to live a life that's based on higher principles, a life that's going to actually yield eternal benefit for ourselves and for others. So that means following Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. No matter what the rest of the world is doing, don't worry about it, because might does not make right. Okay, and we're going to see that because Duryodhana's got the money, he's got the power, he's got the army, and he's going to lose. So now, okay, so now the armies are assembled here on the battle. Battle is about to begin. And one of the things here that Duryodhana does in text 10 is he's praising Bhishma Dev. He says, our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. So he's thinking this Bhishma is very, very powerful. So he praises Bhishma because usually what happens is, he's being manipulative. See, he's like, playing with people's emotions because he knows a little bit about human psychology. And he knows that if you appreciate someone, then they will work for you, right? People who are like corporate executives, who are CEOs of companies, they know this art, that if you appreciate people, they'll work for you. If you don't appreciate them, be like, oh, he doesn't appreciate me, why should I bother? But the more you praise them and value them and express that to them, the more they're going to be inspired. Oh yeah, he really likes my work, I'm going to do more. Because people kind of thrive on appreciation. So he's appreciating Bhishma here, thinking that, yes, we're perfectly protected by Bhishma Dev. And by saying that, he's thinking that now Bhishma Dev is going to be inspired to actually perfectly protect us and not let us lose. At the same time, he's thinking, oh, I just praised Bhishma Dev, and these other generals heard me doing that. So maybe they'll be discouraged. They'll start thinking, oh, Bhishma Dev is going to protect us. I guess he doesn't need us then, so why should we bother? So he doesn't want them to think that. So then he speaks the next verse. He says, all of you must now give full support to Bhishma Dev. So he's saying, yeah, Bhishma Dev is going to protect us, but he can only do that with your support. So we need you. We need you to fight to your maximum ability. Because, he probably said this like in private where Bhishma Dev wasn't hearing. But, Bhishma Dev, he's an old man. He's a grandfather after all. And he needs some support. So all of you need to be around him and protect him. And then Prabhupada brings up this point in the purport that even though Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya both had more affection for the Pandavas, Dronacharya was very confident that they would support him because in the royal assembly, when Draupadi was being insulted, they didn't object. They just stayed silent. So he had already seen that Bhishma and Drona, they should have, morally speaking, ethically speaking, they should have protected Draupadi. And they should have also protected the Pandavas who were being cheated right in front of his eyes, but they didn't. So then he was like, okay, although they have affection for the Pandavas, their loyalty was with me. Because even when the Pandavas were being cheated, even when their wife was being insulted, they didn't say a word. So now when it's time to kill them, they're also going to support that. So this is another thing. See, This is showing how when we become dependent, not only association, but especially if we become dependent on people who are, have low morals, then we become obligated. That's why it's not recommended to become dependent on non-devotees for our maintenance and things like that, because if you depend on them, you just have to do what they want you to do. And that's what happened with Bhishma, Dev, and Drona. They were living in the palace. They were, being provided with accommodations, and they were opulent food, and everything was, they were taken care of. So then they had an obligation to support Duryodhana in his time of need too. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next section. Oh, go ahead, Jatin. Did I say
Hare
your name
Krishna,
right?
ma'am. I just wanted to ask about morality you mentioned earlier and right now. Basically, what is the morality? The main question I am confused with. And secondly, how can we know the morality of a other person like the you mentioned right now? We should recognize either all devotees do have a morality, or how to like that is not something one can watch physically.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
make kind of trial and error, check person in the situations, put them in a phases, so one can know how, either a person has a morality or not. So
Yeah.
I was just confused. So how a person could
How to
recognize a
know.
morality, and what is the morality itself?
Yeah. So first of all, what is morality? The ultimate morality is acting according to the will of the Lord, right? Acting according to the will of Krishna. And that's what we're learning here, right? We're learning the highest morality from Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. And from, yeah, basically we need to learn laws of morality from Shastra. So there are many principles, right? They're the basic principles of, not killing animals unnecessarily. So then no meat eating, no fish or eggs, and then no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. So those are basically, that's basically just like bringing us up to the stage of human life, and then morality goes a little beyond that, right? You'll see in Bhagavad Gita, there are many lists of qualities that Krishna gives for people with divine nature, contrasted with people with demoniac nature. And so we'll learn about all those things. That's a big topic, but it's going to gradually unfold as we go into Bhagavad Gita. And then how to know if somebody actually has good morals. So one thing is to observe them, right? Observe them a little bit before we get too close to them. Listen to what they have to say, see how they act and react to others, see how they respond to situations. And also we can ask others about them instead. Divya, I'm not going to be able to make it to the meeting because I'm actually in a class right now. But sorry, I didn't tell you, I told Nrsinga Rupa, so you go ahead and just meet with him yourself. And you can just fill me in later, okay? All right, awesome. Hope it goes well. Hare Krishna. Sorry about that. I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode. Okay. Where were we? Oh, yeah. So you can observe them, and also you can ask others about them, right? Just like if you're going to hire somebody, or you ask them for references, and then you call up their references and you find out about their character, from their past employer, from their professor at school, or whatever. So we can also ask devotees, oh, this person seems really nice. Do you know them? What do you think about them? As somebody who they've served with or something before you get too close, if you have doubts. So like that. And then, yeah, and then always just be aware, right? Okay, we have ISKCON Rohini Institute.
Hare Hare
Is that
Krishna
Krishna Priya?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna
Yeah.
Mataji. Mataji, I have a question. You have mentioned here the appreciation of Duryodhana for Bhishma Dev. The same words, the two words which Prabhupada mentioned in his purport in 2.3, that Sanjay is using the words encouragement and reassured. If if Duryodhana is using the word here appreciation, so that to appreciate Bhishma Deva, so that our like his side becomes the victorious. But why Prabhupada
Yeah.
used the word Sanjay encouraged and reassured the disappointed king? Why even though the hope of the hope of Dhritarashtra was based on adharma, so why he used the word encouragement and reassured?
That Bhishma encouraged
No, not Bhishma. Sanjay encouraged the king Dhritarashtra because the king Dhritarashtra was despondent.
oh yeah, because obviously Dhritarashtra wants his sons to win.
So he was encouraging him, even though his Dhritarashtra's faith was based on or his hope was based on adharma. So is it right to encourage or reassure someone whose faith or hope is based on adharma?
Well, see, the thing is that Sanjay, and he's going to give the truth in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, but he's a servant of Dhritarashtra. So,
Okay.
if you're the servant and you see that your master is distressed, then you have to say nice things,
Okay.
It wasn't his position to be like, to give him moral instruction, right? Like the right thing to do. I mean, Dhritarashtra needed good moral instruction, but Sanjay wasn't the person to do it because he was subordinate,
Okay.
right? So he was just trying to cheer him up.
Thank you,
Yes, Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Mataji. Mataji, we can say it's Swadharma also.
Okay, go ahead, explain what you mean.
Mataji, I'm answering that question that maybe I might be not right. I'm saying that maybe it is called Swadharma. What is our duty? Maybe that time, I mean to say, Sanjay's the Swadharma was to appreciate the Dhritarashtra.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like if he's an assistant to the king, like an
Yeah.
advisor to then he needs to, that's his duty. Kishori.
Mataji, I doubt on that point that first you say that Duryodhan was saying Bhishma Dev has powerful, and after in 11 Shlok, Duryodhan say that they full support to Bhishma Dev. I can't understand that point.
Yeah, because it's hard to understand the mind of a duplicitous person. Duryodhana is a master of duplicity and diplomacy. So that's the nature. They say one thing to one person, they say another thing to another person, and they just manipulate everyone to try to get everyone to do what they want. They don't care about the truth. It's not about the reality. It's about just, you know, saying whatever needs to be said to make people do what you want. So to Bhishma, he says, in front of Bhishma, he says, yes, we're perfectly protected by Bhishma. And then aside, when he's not next to Bhishma and he's talking to the other generals, he's like, yeah, Bhishma's not so strong. You need to really fight very strongly to protect him, to support him. Right? So this is the demoniac nature, right? Divine nature is simplicity, straightforwardness, honesty, truthfulness, humility. Demoniac nature is like this. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll say anything. Doesn't matter. Whatever it takes to achieve their objectives, they'll do. Seema?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, if Dronacharya was so devoted about his dharma duty, even he
So even he what?
like
You got
so even he accept his enemy, like the son of Dishtirum or whatever. So matlab, whatever I'm sorry.
Go ahead. What happened? What happened to Simal?
Sorry, Mataji, there was some disturbance. So Dronacharya was so devoted for his duty about being a Brahman. Then why, like as you mentioned already, that he was sometimes immoral, whatever. But when Draupadi was being abused, why matlab, he didn't take any action to save her, or he didn't say anything? Same goes for Bhishma. He was so religious person, so pious person. Still, he didn't raise his voice when Draupadi was being insulted.
Yeah. This was a fault. There was a character fault. Right? So it was a time when yeah, as a teacher, he did his duty for teaching, but when it came time to speak up, then it was a mistake. He should have spoken up. Both of them should have spoken up, and neither of them did. And that was a weakness. And that's the weakness that will result in their end in this battle. And it will result in the end of many people.
That means even people like Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya can be they can be distracted from their path, their duty.
Yes. Yeah, it's very difficult to always do the right thing in this world. And sometimes it becomes very complex, right? Like probably they were thinking that the right thing is that we need to be loyal to the throne, to the king of Hastinapur, or the crown prince or whatever. So sometimes we're like this. We're in a situation where it's the right thing is not so clear. And it could go, you're thinking, oh, well, I have this obligation, but also I should say something, and this is really wrong, but what is my position? It becomes unclear. And that's why we need a guru. And we're going to see Arjuna is going to be in the same position. And that's why he takes shelter of Krishna as his guru. Okay. Bhishmadeva and Dronacharya didn't have gurus to go to. So they were just stuck and they ended up doing the wrong thing. Because it's all ultimately Krishna's will. So may have been, in their case, there may have been some, yogamaya potency acting on them, Krishna's internal energy covering their intelligence to make them make a bad decision. Shobha.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you have mentioned two terms, low moral persons and high moral. So, what is the difference between this?
I mean, low moral generally means immoral. Low morals means immoral. And then high morals means, there are standards of morality, and some people, have a low standard, and some people have a high standard, right? Like even in Krishna consciousness, there are some people that have a high standard of Krishna consciousness. They'll be getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and going to Mangalarti every day and chanting their 16 rounds in the Brahma Muhurta and, going to Guru Puja and being very meditative about it and, fasting full fast every Ekadasi and, serving their guru and, like that. And then there'll be other devotees that, they wake up late, they kind of like, they'll chant a few rounds here and a few rounds there, and maybe they'll sometimes, watch a movie, non-devotional movie, go out to eat, maybe they have some non-devotee friends that they relax with sometimes and, like that. But they're still devotees and they basically follow the regulator principles and do their 16 rounds, but it's a different standard, right? Hari Priya?
Hare Krishna, Marji, please accept my humble obeisances. Marji, you mentioned about devotees character. So how can we give an honest assessment of someone's character without being judgmental or offensive when it comes to speaking about a devotee? It's practical implement.
Well, I mean, offensive means that offensive means that you have some bad intention. You know, you say something to hurt them or something like that. But if you're just like observing the character and you're noticing that, maybe they're, not very, they're just, they're not the kind of person that you think is going to be helpful for your life, that's not offensive. It's just that you just, I guess you could say it's judgmental, but we have to use our discrimination. Discrimination is one of the functions of the intelligence, right? Anybody who has intelligence, they have to discriminate. Okay, this is a nice person. This person's good association. That person is going to be bad association. They're going to probably drag me down. And we just need to use our intelligence and make good choices for advancing in spiritual life. That's all. It's not offensive. It's just practical. And don't worry, because there will be people who will see that person that you think is bad association, and they'll be like, "Oh, I really like this person. They're super cool. I love their lifestyle. I want to be like them," and they'll befriend them. Yes, everyone will find their group.
Yes, Bharti, I'm asking because we see that we are experienced, like if we get exposure of that person and we know that he will destroy his moral characters, as you mentioned, association do affect. So if our motive is to protect that person who is a new devotee, we are protecting that person. That's why we are explaining that be careful from that person. So is it okay now?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, we have to hate the sin and not the sinner, right? So it's not that we don't have anything against the person. I mean, everyone's a devotee at heart. Everyone is, inherently good and all that. But so you care about the person, you respect them from a distance, but what you're not happy with is what they're doing. If they're acting in ways that are hurtful or destructive or you're just degrading, then, that's what we don't like. It's not that we don't like the person, we just don't like what they're doing right now, or we don't like where their consciousness is at right now. But that can also change, that person stays with devotees and continues chanting and hearing, taking prasadam, then gradually they're also going to be good. So you can just say that, they're a work in progress and, we can just pray for them or whatever, but keep a distance. Okay, all right, let's move on. So, let's see. Now we're going to go into a next section where all the soldiers on the battlefield are going to start blowing their conch shells, and we're going to see the signs of victory for the Pandavas. So, let's have somebody read text 12, starting from text 12. You can read all the way up through to 19. And should be someone who is decent at pronouncing Sanskrit names, because quite a few names here.
Yeah,
okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Text 13. After that, the conch shell drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Text 14. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Text 15. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean task, blew his terrific conch shell called Pondra. Text 16 and 18. King Yudhishthira the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Sadeva blew the Sugosha and Mani Pushpaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter, Shikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, and unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the son of Draupadi, and others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. Text 19. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra.
Okay, John, thank you. So they're all blowing their conch shells. This is signaling the beginning of the battle. So what we see here is that there are, let's see here. Yeah, it starts off with Bhishma, because he is the grandfather, he's the eldest person, so he starts it off. And Bhishma Dev blew his conch shell very loudly. He tried to give some encouragement to Duryodhana. Yeah. And this is characteristic of Bhishma Dev's position, kind of throughout this whole thing, is that externally he's supporting the Kauravas, but internally he's favoring the Pandavas. So poor Bhishma Dev, he's really stuck in a hard place. But we're seeing that here there's a list of a lot of different signs of victory for the Pandavas. So first of all, the main thing is that they have Krishna on their side. And Krishna is, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the possessor of unlimited power, unlimited opulence. So if you have Krishna on your side, then, you know, you're always going to be victorious. And then one thing that we've already saw in the very first verse is that this battle is taking place at Kurukshetra, which is Dharmakshetra. It starts off Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. So Dharma means religion, and a religious place is naturally going to favor the religious. So the Pandavas are religious, they're righteous, they're pious, and the Kauravas are the opposite. And that's why Dhritarashtra was in so much anxiety actually in the beginning, is because he knows that, and he's thinking, oh, the Pandavas are going to have an advantage because it's happening the Dharmakshetra. That's why he uses that word. So first sign is that Krishna's on their side. Second sign is it's happening in the place of Dharma, where the religious will be favored. The third sign is that when Arjuna and Krishna blow their conch shells, then they're called Divyo Shanko in text 14. They're divine conch shells. So their conch shells are not ordinary, they're divine. And it signifies that they have the divine power. Right? And the result of Krishna and Arjuna and the Pandavas blowing their conch shells is that it shatters the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. And it says here, whereas when Bhishma Dev and the Kauravas blew their conch shells, it didn't shatter anyone's hearts. It just made a loud noise. So there's something very special and significant about these divine conch shells. And then also in the Sanskrit verse in text 14, Krishna is addressed as Madhava. So Madhava means the husband of the goddess of fortune. And wherever the husband of the goddess of fortune is, the goddess of fortune is also there, even though she's not, standing on the battlefield, but she's supporting her husband. So when the goddess of fortune is supporting you, that means that you're going to be fortunate, right? You're going to end up with the fortune. That means victory. And then another thing here is the chariots, right? That's mentioned here in text 14 also, that there was a great chariot drawn by white horses. And Prabhupada says that chariot was a special chariot that had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna. And this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. So anyone who is in this chariot would be able to conquer even in the higher planets, so to speak of, on Earth. That was a sign of victory. And the next verse, text 20, which we didn't read yet, talks about the
Mataji,
copy. Yes.
this what the Madhav name means.
What's that?
The name Madhav means what?
It means the husband of the goddess of fortune.
Means the Lakshmi husband.
Yeah, Lakshmi's husband. Right? Because Lakshmi is the consort of Vishnu. And Krishna is the source of Lord Vishnu. Okay, Gitika, did you have your hand up? No?
No, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. No? Okay, fine. Okay, so then we'll see. So those are so far, how many is that? We've got the holy place, the divine conch shells, Krishna's presence, goddess of fortune, chariot of Agni. That's 5. And then the 6th one is in the next verse, the flag of Hanuman. So that flag of Hanuman also is significant because Hanuman was the servant of Lord Ramachandra who assisted Lord Ramachandra in his victory over Ravana. So in the same way, Hanuman is there giving his support to Arjuna. And Prabhupada says that that Hanuman is the fighting acharya. And so by having Hanuman on his flag, then it shows that Arjuna is following in the footsteps of the fighting acharya, because Hanuman fought on behalf of Ram, and Arjuna is fighting on behalf of Krishna. And both are going to, Hanuman was victorious, Ram was victorious, and Krishna and Arjuna are also going to be victorious. So that's a sign of victory. So all these signs are basically spelling doom for the sons of Dhritarashtra. So this is Sanjay. See, Sanjay on the one hand, he's encouraging Dhritarashtra, but on the other hand, he's in a subtle way. See, in a what's the word? Yeah, indirect way. He's also conveying through these signs that basically the Kauravas are going to die. They're going to lose this battle. Okay. Yeah, and the same fate will befall us. We're also going to be doomed if we reject the supremacy of the Lord and try to get through life by manipulating people and situations. Especially if we insult or harm those who are dear to the Lord, which is what Duryodhana did. So what we need to do is try our best to follow Krishna's will, keep Krishna on our side, stay on the side of Krishna. I mean, Krishna's always on our side, just that sometimes we're not on Krishna's side. We go to the other side and we try to fight against Krishna. Right? Krishna's always on our side. He's always standing there like, hey, we're on the same team here. But we're the ones that are saying, no, I'm on someone else's team, not yours. So yeah, so we have to stick with Krishna, align ourselves with Krishna and with the will of Krishna. And then Krishna is going to empower us. He's going to give us the strength, the resources, everything we need to overcome all the obstacles of conditioned life, just like he did for the Pandavas. Okay. So we've seen a little bit about Duryodhana's personality. Now we're going to see Arjuna. We're going to see a little bit about Arjuna's nature. So let us read 20 to 23.
Can I, Mataji?
Let's see. I'm just looking at hands up here now. Barka?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Text 20. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in the military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. Text 21 and 22. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here, who desire to fight, and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Text 23. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra.
Thank you. So this is actually the first time that Krishna is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Arjuna is talking to Krishna. And it's interesting that although Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he's the master of everyone, what is he doing? He's being ordered around by Arjuna as if he was an ordinary servant, right? The first scene where Krishna's being spoken to is that Arjuna is saying, "Oh Krishna, take me to the other side. I want to see who's here." Yeah. So Krishna is very humble. And it's actually activities like this that make many people doubt whether Krishna is really God, because Krishna is very happy to just serve his devotees, right? And his first appearance in the Bhagavad Gita is, "I'm the servant of my devotees." That's it. So, yeah, people have all different kinds of conceptions of God that are very far away from what God actually is, at least God in his highest or most original form of Krishna. And many people, especially from like Christian traditions, they don't know what God looks like, and they don't know a lot about his personality. So they just imagine him that he's like, an angry old man sitting on a throne with a thunderbolt in his hand, ready to just throw it down and on the heads of anybody that does anything wrong. But this is not actually God. God is Krishna. He's an attractive, beautiful, joyful person who is who's just waiting for us to show an interest in him so that he can shower us with his love. He's a lot more interested in loving us than he is in punishing us. And he actually takes a lot of pleasure in making his devotees happy, even if it means taking an apparently subordinate role. So this is part of Krishna's, one of his qualities is renunciation, right? He's very detached. So even though he's God, he doesn't have to make a show of it. He doesn't need to go around demonstrating his power and his opulence, even though he does have it all. But, it's not a big deal for him, For him, the relationship with his devotees is more important than having a glorious position. So Arjuna addresses Krishna as Achyuta, which means infallible one. And Prabhupada says that's because he never fails to show affection to his devotees. And we can also feel that affection too. The more we come closer to Krishna, the more we chant his holy names and do service. Really, all we need to do is show an interest in Krishna, genuine interest, and do something to please him. And we're going to feel that. We're going to feel his wonderful, soft-hearted reciprocation. So like Krishna, Arjuna is also very soft-hearted. And even though he's duty-bound to fight in this war, but when it comes down to it, his heart is going to melt when he sees everybody here on the battlefield. So you can see here in text 21-22, he says, drive me between the two armies so that I can see those with whom I must contend. So he says, with whom I must contend means I don't want to fight with them, but I have to. This is, I have this occupation. I'm a Kshatriya. I'm duty bound to fight. So whereas Duryodhana, he wants to fight. He's insisting on fighting. He could have made peace, but he insisted. He was like fired up to fight. And Arjuna doesn't want to fight. He's like, ugh, this is so gruesome. This is such a horrible thing. Why do we have to do this? Like that. So, yeah. That's the nature of a devotee. The devotee doesn't want to harm even an ant, what to speak of his relatives. So that's our nature. We're also naturally soft-hearted. And the world is such a way that it acts on us to make us more hard-hearted, more cold. You know, sometimes life is just very high pressure. Sometimes we're in a situation where we need to, be competitive out there in the world and things, and that can make us, it can push us to become kind of cold and selfish. But we should resist these influences and try to cultivate empathy, as we see here. And then somebody could argue, well, if we just allow ourselves to be soft-hearted, then does that leave us vulnerable to other people who aren't soft-hearted and who are ready to just step on us and put us down and, who are like Duryodhana? And the answer is no, because like we see here, Krishna is always ready to serve his devotees. And one of the main ways that he serves devotees is by protecting them. And Krishna never fails to protect his devotees. So it's safe being a soft-hearted, compassionate Vaishnava. Okay, did someone have their hand up? Or you wanted to read? Okay, let's have somebody read the next couple of verses, 24, 25.
Mataji, can I?
Yes. Who is that? Krishna Priya?
Tika.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, as you mentioned that in this verse, Prabhupada is also mentioning that Arjuna wanted to see also the strength, he wanted to estimate the strength, but he was sure that Krishna is on his side. But if we approach, like if a normal or a very new person approach to us with the Bhagavad Gita, he can ask us that isn't it the mixture of faith? He's like having a full confidence that Krishna is on my side, and I'm having a complete divine protection. But still, it is important, if we're having a full complete divine protection, still it is important to see or check the material strength.
Well, Arjuna wasn't really, he didn't really care about the material strength. Duryodhana was worried about the material strength. Arjuna, what he says is, I just want to see who these people are who are, prepared to lay down their lives for Duryodhana. Arjuna was like surprised that anybody would support Duryodhana. He's like, I want to see who it is that I have to fight with, because after all, I don't want to just blindly be killing people. Right. I don't, without, from a distance, I can't even make out who they are. I just see like a lot of army there. I can't see the individual faces know the personalities that are there. And I'm just going to start shooting arrows at people. I don't even know who I'm killing. So it was more like that. He wanted to know, like, who are the people there that I actually am up against, not for assessing their strength, but for just knowing, like, who is it? Who are they? They said, let me see those who have come to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Yeah. Somebody's, I don't know what's happening here. Oh, I think I pushed something by mistake. Okay. All right, so let's go on. Someone please read 24 and 25.
Mataji.
Anyone, just go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
24. Sanjay said, O descendant of Partha, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of the both parties. Text 25. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold Partha, all the Kurus assembled here.
Okay, so this is interesting because Krishna does drive the chariot closer to the other army, and he parks the chariot right in front of Bhishma and Drona, the two Kuru elders who are most dear to Arjuna, because Bhishma Dev was like a grandfather who raised them, after the death of Pandu. And Drona is their teacher who they revered. And so why would Krishna do that? If Krishna wants Arjuna to fight, why would he bring his chariot right up to the people that he's most affectionate towards? And so the thing is that sometimes Krishna creates a situation to make us face our own weaknesses. Basically, he confronts us with our shortcomings. He exposes us. You may have experienced that. So, that's good because it helps us to grow. It also induces us to call out to Krishna with feeling for help. And then Krishna will come and help us. So, yeah, often it's the worst situations that actually bring about the greatest good. And in this case, Arjuna's grief is going to lead to Krishna speaking in the Bhagavad Gita. So that's the ultimate reason why he does it. Because if he would bring him right up in front of Duryodhana, Arjuna would be like, all right, I'm ready to fight. Right? But he brings him in front of Bhishma and Drona, he's like, I can't do this. I just can't. And then he just sits down in his chariot. So, and then Krishna has to speak the whole Bhagavad Gita to encourage him to fight and bring it all to the transcendental level. And he includes so much philosophy in there too. That's really for us. That's not for Arjuna even. Arjuna doesn't need all that because Arjuna's already a pure devotee, but it's for us. So this was Arjuna's mercy. So basically, yeah, Arjuna is Krishna's going to chastise him for displaying some weakness of heart here, but see here in text 24, Krishna, let's see, no, Sanjay addresses, he calls Arjuna Gudakesh. So Gudakesh means one who conquers sleep and also one who has conquered ignorance. So by calling him Gudakesh, we can understand that kind of confirms that Arjuna's mundane consciousness that he's going to exhibit now is not due to ignorance because he has conquered ignorance. It's just due to Krishna's yoga maya potency acting on him. All right. So you shouldn't think that Arjuna is in mundane consciousness, that he's an illusion. I mean, in one sense, he is an illusion, but it's Krishna's transcendental illusion enacted on him by his own internal potency so that he can speak the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So now we're going to read quite a few verses here, text 26 to 35. And one person can just read all those. Ria,
Bye.
she beat you to it with her hand.
Text 26. There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers. Text 27. When the sons of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and thus spoken.
You can keep going. Go all the way up to 35.
Text 28. Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. My whole body is trembling, my hairs is standing on end, my bow Gandhiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only cause of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of Kesi, demon. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. O Govinda, of what avail to us our kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-law, grandsons, brother-in-laws, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, Why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
Okay, thank you. So we can see here that this is a very emotional situation for Arjuna. And it would be for anyone. I mean, just think for a moment about, your beloved grandfather who was so kind to you throughout your childhood, was always very sweet and affectionate and caring. Think about your favorite teacher from school who helped you in learning and also just in life, who helped you solve a lot of problems. Think about some beloved uncle, who was just kind and caring and somebody that you could go to and talk to and get good advice whenever you were confused or in trouble. And then now imagine those people standing in front of you and you have to kill them. How horrible that would be. That now you have to kill your own grandfather, you have to kill your own teacher, you have your favorite teacher, you have to kill your beloved uncle, your cousins. It's really horrible. It's like really, really horrible. And because Arjuna is a devotee, he's very soft-hearted. So he's just feeling so much pain. And that's what he's describing here. Krishna, Arjuna is telling us, he's literally like describing the symptoms that he's feeling, that his arms are shaking. He's like literally shaking. His mouth is going dry. His mind is reeling. He's forgetting himself. He's really just like losing it. He's just overwhelmed with emotions. His skin is burning. He's dropping his bow. That was such a big thing for Arjuna, right? Arjuna took a vow that if anybody ever suggested that he put down his bow, he would kill them. And now he's just dropping it, like a weakling that can't even, hold on to it anymore. And with the speak of that, he says, I can't even stand up. And then he just like slumps down in the seat of his chariot and he's just sitting there. And then he starts coming up with so many excuses, right? He comes up with many reasons that he's offering Krishna not to fight. So we see them actually the first reason we see in text 27, where it says, Sanjay says, when Arjuna saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion. So that's the first reason is Kripaya Pariyavishto, that he became overwhelmed with compassion. And then the second reason is here in text 32 to 35, where he says, Kim Bogar, what enjoyment am I going to get? Even if I win, I'm not going to be able to enjoy the kingdom if it's tainted by the blood of my beloved relatives. Yeah, he says in the last line, he says, Ka priti syaj Janardana. Oh, Janardana, what pleasure are we going to get from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So we can see here also that Arjuna, he's not interested in winning the kingdom. He's not interested in the power, in the opulence. He has no interest in any kind of material gain. But what he wants is he wants to do what's right. And he feels bad that he's being pulled in against his will. He's being pulled into doing what he feels is very, very wrong. But what he doesn't understand is that this whole thing, it's not wrong. It's Krishna's will. Krishna wants this battle to happen. And that's why it's happening. So these are some of the reasons. And another thing is another nice qualification of Arjuna is that he's focusing on the long-term interest, right? The ultimate benefit of everyone. So in text 31, he says, Nacha Shreyo Nupashyami. So Shreya means the ultimate good. So there's Preya, which means the immediate good, and Shreya means the ultimate good. Usually the immediate good is something, immediate gratification, that I see some food that I want to eat, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat it. But Shreya means I'm thinking about my ultimate good. So I'm not going to eat that food even though it looks good, because I know that it's cooked by non-devotees and it's going to contaminate my mind and it's going to lead to uncontrolled senses and Yeah, so I'll just wait till I get home or to temple and take prasadam. Right? Or we wait because, oh, it's a fasting day. I'm going to keep fasting even though I'm hungry and even though there's good prasadam here. I'm going to think about my Shreya, my long-term benefit, and complete my fast, and then I'll take prasadam. So Arjuna is like this. He's thinking of the Shreya. That's what he mentions that himself. And he's not seeing any Shreya. He's not seeing any long-term benefit in killing his own kinsmen. He's like, yeah, I could kill them and I could win and I could get the kingdom. Fine. For my immediate benefit, I could achieve that. But what's the point? What's the long-term benefit? How has that been really ultimately beneficial for myself or anybody else? He's not seeing it. So then he doesn't want to do it. Okay, let's go on to 36 to 38. Jatin, you wanted to read, right? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Sin 36. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsman? Text 37-38. O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin?
Thank you. So this is his third argument for not fighting, is that he doesn't want to incur sin. Right? Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it's not proper. So how can we do it? We need to do the proper thing. Arjuna is always wanting to do the right thing. So naturally, yeah, he's concerned. And Arjuna, he knows about the laws of karma, that if you commit a sin, you're going to suffer. And yeah, just the rule, thou shalt not kill, that it's sinful to kill anyone. But what to speak of killing your grandfather and your teacher and your family and your friends, like that's just very evil, right? He's just thinking this is extremely evil, this is extremely wrong, this is very sinful. He said he makes the point that I should be offering, these personalities are worthy of my worship, right? I should be offering flowers. I should be showering them with flowers, not with arrows. Like, this is just so wrong. This is the opposite of what I should be doing. But Arjuna is not considering that there are exceptions to the rule of thou shalt not kill. And in some situations, killing is glorious, right? So a soldier in wartime is awarded with medals for killing. He becomes a national hero for killing. But when there's no war, if that same soldier, he's at home and he gets in a fight with someone and decides, oh, well, I just, got so many medals for killing, I'll kill this person too. Then he ends up going to jail, right? Because it wasn't authorized. So that's the difference, is that one killing is done on an authority, according to the authority, as a matter of duty and for the ultimate good. And the other is just whimsical for sense gratification. So in Arjuna's case, he's clearly acting on authority, right? He's basically been invited by Duryodhana to join this battle, right? And also Krishna is supporting him. Krishna wants him to fight. And then the purport Prabhupada says, according to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. The poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with weapons, one who plunders your riches, occupies your land, or kidnaps your wife. And any one of these 6 aggressors can be killed without any sin being incurred. And if we look at all the things that the Kauravas did to the Pandavas before this battle, they basically were aggressive in every one of these 6 ways, right? They tried to give poison in a cake, especially to Bhima. They set fire to the house of Black. They attacked them in different ways. They plundered their riches. Through the dice game, they stole all their money and kingdom. And then they took over the land which was what's that place called? Indraprastha. And then they attempted to kidnap their wife by winning her by cheating and gambling and dragging her. So in every single one of these ways, they were aggressive, and they really should have been killed. And Prabhupada says, such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. So, yeah. But anyways, he's not seeing it. He's just seeing the immediate situation here. So this is important for us too, this principle of accepting authority. Sometimes it's difficult for many of us. You know, we want to do what we want, when we want, how we want, and we don't want anyone to tell us, you know, something different. And even when it comes to religion or spirituality, many people want to do like pick and mix. Oh, I like this from this religion. I like that from that religion. I like this yoga thing and this whatever. And, you know, we want to create our own path, you know, according to our own taste. But then we don't really commit ourselves to anything. And as soon as it gets difficult, we just give it up. So we're not going to make any progress that way. Everything has to be done properly according to authority. And there's a verse that Prabhupada would often quote, goes, there you go, Shruti Smriti Puranadi, like it starts like that it says that even devotional service that's done without regard for the instructions of the Shrutis and the Smritis and the Puranas, basically the scriptures, is an unnecessary disturbance is simply disturbance to society. So there you go. Even devotional service, if it's not authorized by Guru, Sadhus, and Shastra, it's just a disturbance. We don't make advancement and we just end up disturbing other people. So everything has to be properly aligned and authorized. And this, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra are like three tracks that the train of our spiritual life runs on. Right? Usually train has two tracks, but the train of spiritual life that carries us back to Godhead has three tracks. And those are Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And they should all be in line with each other, right? The train tracks have to be parallel the whole way. If one starts going another way, the train's going to get derailed and it's going to crash. So to make sure everything is nicely aligned, and then we just need to stay on track, and we're going to quickly and smoothly make progress. Okay. So now in the next section, Krishna is going to strengthen his arguments by adding a new dimension here. So let's go to 39 to 45. Barka, do you want to read?
Actually, Mataji, I had a question.
Oh, you had a question. Okay, go ahead.
Just like you said that Arjuna was feeling quite like he didn't want to fight, but he had to fulfill his duty. Same goes with Bhishma. He also internally was on side with Pandavas, but he had to fulfill his duty. Can we say that they were fighting with the same battle inside themselves? Like they were on the same page that they don't want to, but they have to.
Yeah.
So can we still call them that one's duty was wrong and one's duty was right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, I mean, Bhishma Dev is an interesting personality because, he fought we could say he fought on the wrong side, but there's also like a higher reason why he was fighting against Krishna. And that's because, it's related to his eternal constitutional position in the spiritual world. You know, that he's eternally related to Krishna in Dasya Ras, which means he's a servant of Krishna, but with a secondary rasa of chivalry or virya rasa. So his service to Krishna is that he challenges Krishna and fights with Krishna. And that's what he does in the battlefield, right? So he really he attacks Arjuna so intensely because he wants Krishna to break his vow and pick up a weapon and fight with him. And so that's when Krishna jumps off the chariot to save Arjuna's life. picks up a broken wheel and starts charging towards Bhishma Dev, and Bhishma Dev is just like, this is the perfection of my life. Bhishma Dev is in ecstasy because that's his whole relationship. That's his eternal relationship with Krishna is, sometimes Krishna likes to fight, and when he fights, he wants to fight with his devotees. So, yeah.
Thank you,
So that's
Mataji.
why that's the ultimate reason, kind of the more esoteric reason why Bhishma Dev had to be on the side of Duryodhana. Not that he was really supporting Duryodhana, but because he has this internal rasa with Krishna that they fight. That's what they do. That's how they enjoy their relationship.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Raki.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, as you say, the picking up just like I'm connected to ISKCON now. Matlab, I'm in Krishna consciousness, but I used to listen some things that is from Sadhguru and Brahma Kumaris also. I used to do it. So is it okay to take something like a breathing exercise or something, meditate or these things? Is it okay to do or follow that things even when I'm connected to Krishna consciousness, or I have to left all those things?
I mean, the principle is that we need to accept what's favorable for our Krishna consciousness and reject what's unfavorable for our Krishna consciousness. So, if you're doing some yoga, some breathing, some meditation, meditating on Krishna, but you're learning some meditation techniques that help you to be more focused in your japa or something, then that's fine. But if you're hearing some, philosophical points that, are somewhat like here we go. Okay, go ahead, Hitika, please.
Hare Krishna Mahaprabhu. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in religion. Text number 40. When a religion is prominent in the family of Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the regression of women who are descended of Vishnu comes unwanted progeny. Section 41. An increase of unwanted pollution certainly causes harmless life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Section number 42. By the ever deaths of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise of unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are diverted. Fact number 43. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard the disciple succession that those whose family tradition are destroyed dwell always in hell. Fact number 34. Allah, how strange is that we are preparing to commit directly sinful acts driven by the desire of enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own consciousness. Text number 45. Better for me if the strength of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
Thank you very much. So this is Arjuna's fourth argument for not fighting. A reason for not fighting is the destruction of the dynasty. So he doesn't want to destroy the dynasty. And he's foreseeing that, okay, in this battle, a lot of men are going to get killed. And these men are fathers of unmarried women, they're husbands of so many women. And yeah, these women, when the men are killed, then the women are going to be unprotected. And then if the women have no men to protect them, then there's a chance that they're going to be taken advantage of by lustful men out there. And then as a result, there's going to be unwanted children who don't have, a good mother and father, a nice, balanced, responsible family to raise them. And the women become polluted, then it's a big problem. So the point here is that, women play an immensely important role in human society. So generally, it's the women who maintain the family traditions and instill values in the children, and those children become the future leaders. So there's one famous American poet who said, "The hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world." So that's the mother's hand, right? The mother rocks the cradle. How does she rule the world? Because she's the person she's the first guru. She teaches the children, she trains them, she disciplines them, she teaches them right from wrong, like that. How to be responsible, how to be accountable, how to treat other people properly, how to offer respect properly. The mother teaches all these things, and then the children grow up and they become the next leaders of society. Based on those valuable lessons, and the main psychology of the human being is formed in the first 5 years of life. So those are called the formative years. So whatever impressions they get during those first 5 years, that stays with them forever. That's going to determine whether they're going to be dysfunctional human beings or highly functional human beings. It determines how their relationships are going to be in the future, whether they're going to be able to hold a job, whether they're going to have self-discipline and integrity. It's all in those first 5 years of life. That's why it's very important for the mother to be home with the children at that time, to provide a really healthy, balanced, peaceful home environment with nice spiritual vibration, with Krishna consciousness. And so that's what Arjuna is pointing out. He's recognizing that this role of women is so important. Women need to be protected because they're so valuable. The role that they play in human society is so valuable that we can't risk them being corrupted. That can result in, social chaos. So this was a legitimate concern, because even sociological studies have shown that children from single parent families, where it's just the mother raising the children, those children are more likely to become involved in crime and just, be poorly functioning adults. And so nowadays there's a lot of propaganda in the media, for women to stay single or to be, whatever, that sexual freedom is progressive, but it's all hype, it's all just the media, right? Women should not allow themselves to be taken advantage of men who just want to exploit them, who just want to enjoy their bodies. And men also should be trained, right? That's why the brahmachari ashram is there, is to train young men to have spiritual vision, right? To not see women as sex objects, basically, but to actually respect them as Vaishnavis, as souls who are dear to Krishna, to respect them as mothers or future mothers, and to be responsible, to have an attitude of protecting the women. And so these are some things here that are coming out. So there's one purport here, text 40, where Prabhupada talks about this. He literally says that the spiritual progress of state and community depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. So that shows how women are very important. But at the same time, women need protection. So, Prabhupada talks about these 5 groups of society that need protection: women, children, Brahmins, old men, and cows. And that's because these 5 groups have 2 things in common. One is that all 5 of them are very valuable. right? Children are valuable because they're the future. Women are valuable because they train the future leaders and they maintain family traditions and religious performances. Old men are valuable because they have wisdom of experience. Brahmins are valuable because they're the teachers, right? They're the priests. They maintain religion in society. And then cows are valuable because without cows, we don't have milk. Without milk, we basically can't worship the Lord, right? We won't have ghee lamps. We won't have nice offerings for the Lord. Milk nourishes the finer tissues of the human brain so that we can actually understand higher spiritual subject matters. So these 5 groups are extremely valuable in human society. And the other thing they have in common is that they're all vulnerable, right? Children are vulnerable. They're easy to cheat them. You can just like pick up a child and carry them away. You know, they can't protect themselves. Women also are physically weaker. If there's a fight between a man and woman, the woman is done. You know, even if she goes to the gym and works out, and even if the man is apparently a weakling, forget it. It's just the male body is built for strength, and the female body is not. So even if she knows karate, you know, or something, it's like she's still not going to stand a chance against most men. So, and also women tend to be, relatively speaking, they tend to be more emotional. So they're easily manipulated. You know, if a man speaks some sweet words or, you know, like that, then her emotions will switch on and she'll, you know, and then she can be easily misled. So that's 2 areas of vulnerability that women have. Then old men are vulnerable because, yeah, their body's in decline. They don't have the strength that they used to, and, you know, they can't protect themselves. Brahmins are vulnerable because they have a simple life. They're not fighters, right? And then cows are vulnerable because they're domestic animals. They don't have, you know, claws and sharp teeth and ways of defending themselves. So they need to be protected. So yeah, it's not that young men aren't valuable. Basically, the only group here that don't need protection are the young men. Not that they're not valuable, but they're not so vulnerable as the other ones. So they can protect themselves. They don't need protection. They can protect themselves, and they also have to protect all these other groups. So young men have a big responsibility for society. So when Chandrika Pandit says here that women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy, yeah, a lot of women have problems with that statement. So first of all, that's Chandrika Pandit. And Prabhupada says that Chandrika Pandit was not a devotee, he wasn't a spiritual authority, he was a politician. But another thing is that, see, the thing is that women, it's not that they don't have intelligence, but they tend to have a different kind of intelligence, right? There's, even in Sanskrit, there's different words for intelligence. There's buddhi, and then there's medha. So buddhi is a more rational, logical intelligence, right? Which is good for analyzing and discriminating and yeah, rational intelligence. And then Medha is a different kind of intelligence. It's more of an emotional intelligence, intuitive intelligence. And later in Bhagavad Gita, you'll see that when Krishna, he's saying that, you know, of different categories, he's something. So he's like a fish, I am the shark. Of mountains, I'm Mount Meru. Of whatever, you know, of this, I'm that. So he says, of women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, and intelligence. And he uses the word Medha. So he's acknowledging that women have this special quality of intelligence that's medha. And the good news for devotees, especially Vaishnavis, is that medha is what's required to actually, you know, be a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? As it says in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna Varna Tusha Krishna, Sango Pangastra Parshana, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer, Yajanti Hi Su Medha Saha. He says that those who have su medha, that have good medha, this type of intelligence that's more, you know, emotional and intuitive and, you know, coming from the heart, basically the heart intelligence, that if you have a good heart intelligence, then you can, then you will chant the holy names. Then you will worship Lord Chaitanya. You'll basically be able to be a dedicated follower of the Yuga Dharma. and love Lord Chaitanya. And by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, come to love Radha and Krishna and make your life perfect. So, so don't worry. If Chanika Pandit says women are less intelligent, not trustworthy, that's fine. You don't need to be highly intelligent. You just need to have enough intelligence to know that the process for human perfection is chanting the holy name. And the Lord to be worshipped in this age is Krishna in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's enough. And also, Krishna says later that he specifically says that, in that verse in chapter 9, that's also a well-known verse. I think it's 9:30. Let's just flip there. Well, it's not 9:30, it's 9:32. He says, Mam hi parta vipashrita ye pisu papayonaya striyo vaishyastata shudras tepi yanti param gatim. He says, O son of Prita, those who take up shelter of me, even if they're of lower birth, even if they're a woman, even if they're Vaishyas, even if they're Shudras, doesn't matter, they can attain the supreme destination. So, yeah, even if you're born in a female body, and even if that means that you're not so well equipped with buddhi, rational intelligence, but it's no impediment to going back home, back to Godhead. That's what Krishna is saying. Even women can achieve the supreme destination. So that's the power of devotional service. So you don't have to feel bad, even if you're less intelligent. Not really a problem. The main thing, the goal of life is not to be intelligent. The goal of life is to love Krishna. And it's Medha that gives us the ability to really do that. Okay. So let's see, what else do we have to say here? All right, there's one more verse. And that is after Arjuna puts forward all these reasons why he doesn't want to fight. Now he's going to communicate his final decision through his body language. So text 46, someone please read.
May I read?
Yes.
Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bows and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief.
Okay. Yeah. So here, Arjuna, you can see he's caught between a rock and a hard place, as they say, right? He's aware that it's his duty to fight. He knows what's expected of him, and it's not that he's a coward, but the consequences of this battle, as he sees them, are just too tragic and too devastating to society. And so he doesn't know what to do. And so he just sits down and waits for Krishna's advice. So, yeah, nowadays the world often puts us in situations like this, right? That we don't know what to do, right? It seems like my mother used to sometimes say, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Right? Like Arjuna, if you fight, it's going to be bad. If you don't fight, it's going to be bad. So often we're in these situations where whatever we do, whatever choice we make, someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to be upset, someone's going to suffer, some bad consequence is going to be there. But in those situations, we just need to turn to Krishna. Because Krishna is the expert judge of time, place, and circumstances. That's one of his qualities. And he's always got a solution. And Krishna's solutions are so good that they satisfy everyone. So whereas I'm thinking, whatever I do, I'm going to dissatisfy everyone. If I just turn to Krishna, he's going to twist the whole thing around. He's going to turn the whole thing around and make it that whatever you do, you're going to satisfy everyone. That's the Krishna magic. So, yeah, and he knows, he knows past, present, and future. He has the whole situation, anyways, under control. In our minds, it's out of control. It's impossible. in Krishna's situation, it's easy. It's already under his control. And so we just need to connect with him or his representative in the form of our gurus, accept their good advice, and raise our consciousness. Right? That's what we're going to see. Now Krishna is going to raise Arjuna's consciousness and make him see things from a different perspective. Because whenever we're in that situation where it seems hopeless, when it seems impossible, it's because it's just our perspective. It's never actually impossible, right? Prabhupada said impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. So it's never impossible. It's just from our limited perspective, it looks impossible. So we need to, connect with Krishna, connect with pure devotees of Krishna, and hear about it, ask them to share their perspective, because from their perspective, it's going to look very, very different. From their perspective, everything's possible. From their perspective, it's all good. It's all mercy. It's all glorious. And that's the actual situation. So Krishna is like the sun. When the sun rises, then all the darkness goes away. All the clouds of illusion and despair and grief go away. But this grief can be a good thing, because it helps us turn to Krishna, right? It induces us to turn to Krishna. And anything that induces us to turn to Krishna is a good thing. So ultimately, whatever we're going through, whether it's joy or fear or stress or indecision or gratitude or whatever, we can purify it, illuminate it, and spiritualize it by sharing it with Krishna. And that's what we're meant to do. So over the course of the Bhagavad Gita, we're going to see how Arjuna does this, how by his connection with Krishna and listening to Krishna's instructions, taking them to heart, putting them into practice, his grief is going to be transformed into devotional enthusiasm. All right. So that is the end of chapter 1. Woohoo! Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports, the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Okay, any final questions? Bimla Prasad's looking ecstatic there.
I was just like, I just wanted to add to this that no matter how fast you finish, we are not going to let you before those 15 lessons. It was really let you off the hook.
Well, I started on time and I went a little over time only.
Oh,
So
I'm just saying because like
Oh.
we finish with those, so then they will have more time for interaction, more time for question and answers. And I find generally, our students like to keep quiet, but then they were very vocal today. It's like
Yeah,
a
it was
very
good.
surprise.
Good. So keep it up. I told Krishna Priya to tell them all that I like questions, so they should ask a lot of questions.
Thank you for
So
letting
tomorrow,
us speak.
and don't worry, I'm not planning to do one chapter every day. Chapter 1 is a quick one, but the other ones will spend a little more time.
It's
So
quickly.
tomorrow we'll begin chapter 2, and we'll probably do like a third of it. So why don't you go ahead and read all the verses and purports for 1/3. You can divide it up into roughly a third of it. And then, yeah, as you read, note down your questions, any doubts that come to mind, and we can address those during the class. Okay, you saw how your questions made it more interesting, right, for everyone? So when you ask questions, you're also doing a service to the other students by making it more interesting, and you're also doing a service to me by making me think. No, but actually questions, see, if it wasn't for questions, we wouldn't have the Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhagavad Gita starts because Dhritarashtra asks a question, right? When my sons assembled there along with the sons of Pandu, what did they do? So then we hear the whole chapter 1. And now Arjuna is going to ask Krishna has so many questions and Krishna's going to explain so many things. And now we get the Bhagavad Gita. And if it wasn't for questions, we wouldn't have Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Because it starts with the sages of night. Well, it starts with Parikshit Maharaj on the verge of death, asking Shukadeva Goswami, what is the duty of one about to die? What should one hear about, remember? And then he answers. And then the sages of Naimisharanya ask similar questions later, and then they get even more elaborate answers. And then even within that, there's so many questions and answers. So Bhagavatam is basically questions and answers. Bhagavad Gita is questions and answers. And this is how we get knowledge. So keep asking questions and I'll pray to Krishna to be able to give answers, and and we can all learn together. Jai. All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you for having your videos on. Those of you who have your videos on, it really makes a big difference to me to be able to see you. You know what happens when everybody's videos are off? I just feel like leaving. I feel like, all right, they're all checked out. I'm checking out too. So as far as possible, if you can all have your videos on, then that helps me. It's already difficult enough, having the virtual classes, so much better being in person. But at least we can make the best use of the bad bargain by having our videos on and make it as personal as possible. And yeah. Okay. Jai, so I'll let you go. It's getting late there. You should all get to bed. And I have to get on with my day. Grantaraj, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Jai Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo.
August Prabhupada Priya Ji ki jai.
Jai.